Hey, my friend, it's Dan here, and today I'm going to make a longer video, just like requested. I'm going to do two birds with one stone. Today we're going to talk about hydration first, and then we're going to talk about protein. Okay, so maybe I'll get the protein thing out of the way, and then I can go into detail about the hydration program. First of all, just because some of the comments about the, vegan, carnivore, all that good stuff. So protein is good. A lot of the younger guys, they want to keep on some muscle. Women too. I think as you get older, you value kind of feeling better as opposed to looking better. But in our world today, with Instagram and everything kind of being more of a visual stimuli, there is a desire to keep on more muscle. And so a lot of people have gone back to eating a carnivore diet, even though there was a certain part of them that was really in the beginning kind of attracted to the more of the vegan type ideals. Myself, I don't like the labels. Isms are not my thing when it comes to religion or food or anything, because I think that life is very fluid. But for the sake of communication, we'll use some of those isms and some of those boxes. And most everyone is a little bit of all of it, and so we're just here for peace, but I personally have that ideal. I know a lot of the young men and young women had that vegan ideal. It's interesting how veganism, it had to be. As an ism, it's always going to be a fad. But as a person, you can become dedicated and devoted to a bloodless diet or an animal product free type diet. But there's a lot of nuances in between there. I'm not really interested in the politics. I get a lot of comments and stuff, and some people are like, if you're not a hardcore vegan, I'll unsubscribe from you. And I'm like, good, I'm glad you're gone. Because this is really about love, and it's really about me sharing this awesome life experience that I've had, and then allowing you to do whatever you want to do with that. So in regards to the protein, I don't think it's a huge deal for most people. Particularly what I find funny is when I have a consultation with someone who is obese or who has cancer, and they're worried about their protein needs. Protein is in supplemental form, whether that's a little bit of meat in the diet or a lot of bit of meat these days with the carnivorism, can be extra amino acids for muscle repair on an accelerated level for athletes or bodybuilders. Or like I said, us young guys, I know it. Like, I was in my 20s once. I thought if I get big muscles, I'm going to get girls. Okay, then it turns out later on you realize that there's two muscles that women really love, and it's this one and this one. These ones they can do without. They will enjoy them, but this muscle here and this muscle here is, believe me, as I've matured, those are the muscles that attract women. So for all you young guys, take that to heart. But stay fit, physically active and stuff like that, because it's awesome. And but for those of you who do want to have a little bit of muscle, I'm going to recommend the Puridyne. Now, isn't that convenient for me since I work for the company? Yes, but what I want to say though is that my friend Lou, Lou Corona, who started this company, he's into the muscles. He's 67 now and stronger than any carnivore I've ever met, by far. One of the strongest human beings I've ever known. Lou was blessed by the fact that he was trained by a Green Beret when he was younger, and could do at one time 90 pull-ups. So Lou that's always been a part of his character and his persona, is the strength. less so for me. I've always been smarter and funnier than I was any kind of muscle, because I'm just an ectomorph, and there was a lot of pressure from society. And I was teased quite profoundly as a child. It doesn't bother me anymore to be skinny, because this incredible lightness that I feel is far superior than any time when I was heavier. I'll just wrap, because, you know, everyone seems to dig it. So, even just recently, after the 40-day water fast, I went from 128 pounds to 188 pounds. So I gained 60 pounds in 60 days. And I did that on purpose. And the reason why I did that was because for 17 years I thought, after reading the Gospel of Peace and saying, I'm going to do a 40-day water fast like Jesus. Well, it only took me 17 years to be able to accomplish that goal, and a lot of 3-day fast, 7-day fast, 5-day fast, 10-day fast. You know, it was like, it took me a while to be able to develop the, you know, the courage, I suppose, and the skills, really, the knowledge to effortlessly breeze through a 40-day water fast without one iota of fear. And we'll talk about what's changed for me permanently one of these days. But I always thought to myself, wouldn't it be awesome to do a 40-day water fast and then rebuild and get jacked back up like I was back in the heydays when I was on all kinds of additives and supplements, if you will. And I was pretty jacked up, 200 pounds of beef. I didn't really feel that great, but aside from, I mean, I was definitely not nowhere near the level of awareness that I am now about inflammation and hydration and everything else. So I gained 60 pounds in 60 days by eating more than I wanted to, eating about, probably within that 60 days, probably about 3 bags of this stuff, like every night. Just sprinkle a little on your salad. It doesn't take much, but those extra amino acids, this has a full range of all 22 essential amino acids. I want to gently, continually encourage the, and I see the trend in society. You know, people really are beginning to understand that 99% of the animals are tortured, slaughtered, beaten, poisoned, toxic, antibiotic filled, artificially hybridized, you know, animals. So people are, you know, all the documentaries that have come up and stuff like that. And it's horrific, you know. But then there's a lot of cognitive dissonance, and then there's about 1% of the animal products in America, at least, are really truly like grass range animal products that don't have the same type of fear molecules that have totally overtaken their DNA. When they're in those concentration cow camps, they're very, very, very stressed out. And then that transfers over into the human organism, you know. And so my objective here is to, you know, just share, gently helping people to be able to achieve it, because, well, here's the thing. I mean, I can go on about this subject for a long time, but I'll be as brief and yet, you know, detailed as possible. But until you get that subset of microbes, which are parasites, out, because they can take a very strong hold. And it's true with the parasites, and it's true with the yeasts. And until you completely get rid of those parasites, and the only true way that I've ever really found to actually eliminate them completely is water, fasting, and very powerful herbs to weaken them first. Other than that, they're pretty hardy. And when you go from, you know, you're being born, you're inoculated with your mother's microbiome, you know, you get inoculated with that. She was eating meat, so those parasites pass on to you. That's nature, and that's a good thing. And she was eating meat, of course, and so she transmitted her microbes to you. Then you grew up as a kid probably omnivorous for the most part, sad omnivorous, most of us. My generation is pretty much like the beginning of where we were almost all living on a sad diet with, the range of sugared cereals and meats and hot dogs and everything else. So, we had a real range of, not in my opinion, the greatest microorganisms in the gut, but provisions from nature for survival. And the whole thing just seems like to be one big giant microbial concert of evolution and adaptation for survival. And so I think a lot of people have a hard time going vegetarian or vegan because those parasites, which aren't necessarily a bad thing. Again, I said they're provisional in nature in case you're somewhere where you're going to starve to death if you don't have the meat. So I understand that aspect of the argument. It's a survival food, What would I do in those situations? I don't know. If my kids were starving and that's all there was, I don't know what I would do, to be honest with you. I'd like to think that I would take the high road with my picture of Jesus on the wall there, who's been very influential in my food choices by reading the Gospel of the Holy 12, the unchanged teachings of Jesus, and the Essene Gospel of Peace, and the strong teachings that come through about the consumption of animal flesh. So I have a very strong, relationship with the avoidance of animal flesh, for a multitudinous reasons. And so I think that people want to, because it seems like to their consciousness, they see the way the animals are treated. They know they themselves could never slit the animal of a throat and bury their face into their entrails and chew out their organs and glands and chew off the skin, which is what carnivores do. And so they really want to go onto more of a vegetarian or vegan pathway. But they don't feel well because those microorganisms are strong, they're in there, and they communicate with your nervous system. So as soon as you cut them off and no longer pay them tribute, they are mad as hell and they're irritating. Same thing with the sugar microbes that are associated with the modern day agricultural grains and the processed foods, all the way over here to the parasites that are associated with the consumption of animal flesh. And there's a mixed bag in there, and again, it's all adaptive and provisional. So you have a lot of control, but you have to know, because a lot of people are just strung out on sugar and grains and that type of thing, and cooked foods, because not that many people do these incredibly nasty tasting, powerful detoxification herbs and water fasting to completely reset, and just like Jesus said in the Gospel of Peace, in my opinion, Satan and his demons can be cast out only by fasting and by prayer. My own personal experience has shed light on that for my own self. You will have to have your own experience and your own opinion. So we've got the dysbiosis of the yeasts, which are undigested sugars, fermenting and feeding those types of microorganisms which are there provisionally, just in case you decide to eat too much of the wrong kind of thing. They'll be there to help you out. The problem is they get used to you being their hosts. And the sugar ones are kind of the worst, because the sugar ones, they want to eat like every 2 or 3 hours. You got to have a candy bar or a donut or some grains or something that's going to ferment and feed them. In the small intestine, you want the fermentation to take place in the large intestine. You want digestion to occur in the small intestine, and then the fermentation to happen in the large intestine. The problem is the fermentation is already happening because it's a deeply processed food or it's been cooked. Interesting stuff here, my friends, and I'm going to get to a point to all this. And then over here with the parasites, they can wait a lot longer because meat digests a lot more slowly. Animal products are a lot more slow. And so what we're doing is wanting to get our guts back to a place where, and I'll talk about this a little bit more during the hydration, but what I've found and what I'm grateful for is that I was so crazy enough to follow the advice that I got from the Gospel of Peace, was that to eat the living foods. What I've found out now, and what I really love about my life, is almost 18 years now. Let me see, what month is this? This is September. So next month will be 18 years on living foods. What is that? This is where the beauty comes in, and this is where we'll segue into this, and then I'm going to do a little bit more of a plug on this because I didn't quite get to say what I wanted to say about the protein and the animal flesh for the vegans that want to stay muscular. This stuff right here is going to work. But I'm talking about for the microbes to be the most beneficial, that produce the metabolites that lead to lightness, clarity, and a refinement of the expression of the DNA through the epigenetics of the microRNA being affected by that which you eat, or by the metabolic byproducts of the microorganisms living in your gut, producing all of the different metabolites, their waste matter for good or ill, which, if done in the colon properly with the right fibers, are beneficial. Fats and minerals and vitamins produced, and hormones and steroids and neurotransmitters, so you can be happy. And it is my opinion at this time that it's a magnificent and beautiful thing to understand what I am now going to call electrical nutrition. Because I'll tell you one thing, there is electrical nutrition, and the microbes and the microbiology and the environment and the ecology of all the various, even the women's breasts have their own separate microbiome. And there is the vaginal microbiome, the esophageal microbiome. There's probably one in the brain, and no one's even found that yet. But then the most amount of activity that we have for the hosts that we are hosting trillions upon trillions of microorganisms. That's in our gut. And the microorganisms of the electrical foods, I do believe, just by my own experience, looking around, observing, also trying to forward my own agenda, which is eat more fruits and vegetables. It's a fancy way. All this is a fancy way of saying eat more fresh fruits and vegetables that are electrically alive. Most of the food that we all grew up on was dead. We've been eating dead food since we were born. Whatever that is, dead formula, dead cooked peas, dead. And so it's non-electrical food. So our gut just kind of gets formulated in that sense because we were fed dead foods, or even the cesarean section, or the formula feeding, or the antibiotics, and all the other things that just mess up our gut. So to get your gut right might take some time. A lot of people will be like, I wanted to be vegan, but I just couldn't do it. And every time I took one bite of raw fish, I felt better. Every time I took one egg, I instantly felt better. So does one piece of fish instantly transform all your biomarkers of health? Does one egg instantly transform all your biomarkers of health? Or does it shut up the overgrowth of those particular parasites in your gut? So they send signals to, they own us. Until you own them and become a master, and you just learn what true discipline is I am not going to smoke that, I'm not going to drink that, I'm not going to eat that, and you just go through the white knuckle sweats. Or you could just do a long water fast and just done. You're done with it. After that, all cravings stop. You're never hungry anymore. The only thing you need to do is stay hydrated and then feed the gut microbes. But you actually, all your cravings just go away, because the only microbes that can survive a water fast are the ones that are the strong and beneficial ones. The only microbes that can survive and thrive with the electrical diet are the ones that are the most beneficial, that lead to, in my state, in my opinion and experience at this time, eating living foods and looking at the people that do that, like Lou and Tavis and Christina. I'm looking at them and I'm like, and Marcus, there's just a different consciousness there by the metabolic byproducts that are produced. So I think meat has those byproducts that affect consciousness in that way. And then there are those qualities that are associated with the universal aspects of that, those microbes within nature, as it relates to carnivorism or eating flesh in general, or as it relates to even a carcass just being, as soon as the animal stops breathing, then those particular types of microorganisms from the local environment are instantly right there. Once the animal stops breathing and it's no longer producing a electromagnetic field of life, that animal breathes its last breath for whatever reason, gets hit by a car, shot by a hunter or whatever, or throat slit by a psychopath in one of those lines where the cows are hanging and they're just like, they're slitting their throats one at a time, and the cow's just like that, and then people want to eat that, and it's like, you are eating pain and suffering. So be careful of where you're getting your meat from if you're going to do that. But as soon as the animal dies, it sends out a signal, and then instantaneously, and that's how nature has to work, those microorganisms that are associated with decay and decomposition must surround that pig. And then, I've seen it a million times because the pigs get hit all the time by the cars, and I see them on the side of the road. The first day, they're just a dead pig. The second day, it's like rigor mortis. The third day, they start to really, really smell bad. And so that's not the type of microorganisms that I want in my gut. And you also realize this, that farmers will not allow you to put animal scraps into the compost pile because it will kill all the beneficial microbes that grow life. So there's a lot of reasons you know what side I'm leaning to, but that is my agenda, that is my job, and it's the love of my life that I've done this and gone down this route and to see things the way I do, because I feel like for the individuals that really want to have a much more expanded quality of life, a peaceful, easy, loose body, without all that tightness and heaviness and those other types of consciousnesses, on either side, so I like the electrical microbes, okay? And so that's why I've been so blessed and have had such a great desire to continue to connect with something more expansive than myself, is because I've been on the electrical diet consciousness for about 25 years when my parents bought me a Champion juicer, carrot, apple, ginger, carrot, apple, ginger. Then I saw Jay the Juice Man Cordage. I threw some parsley in there, and it was game over for DTM. The daily juicing habit for 25 years. So I've been just drinking electricity for 25 years every day. So I'm going to have an extremely beneficial advantage when it comes to doing a diet change or something like that, as opposed to somebody who's been eating cooked food with no electricity, or animal products with no electricity that cannot conduct electricity. But if you see, like, let's say, for example, I see some fruit right there. It's bright, it's yellow, it's sweet, it's delicious. I can pick that, and what that is concentrated starlight energy. That's what fruit is. concentrated starlight energy that is hydrating. And so we'll segue into that. So if you're trying to keep on muscle and you're trying and you want to break free from the consumption of animal products, because the trend is, as loud as the screams are right now for veganism, it's a trend. Now the trend is carnivorism, and everyone needs to find their little balance for themselves. But I don't follow trends, you know? I feel like, I don't even know how to explain it, except I'm going to live the way that I want to live, because that's what makes sense to me the most. And I know not everyone has this context that I've got, where you see, it's like, wow, humans would have thrived here like crazy for forever, because there is no ending to the amount of fruits and herbs and nuts. They are everywhere, prolific, year-round. There would never be a food shortage, and human beings in an area like this would thrive like crazy. But I understand not everyone's been here to see this and traveled around like I have through the jungles, finding mountain apples and all these weird, strange fruits, and like even just all kinds of wild fruits and herbs, just growing everywhere. And so if you're in Michigan, you're like, in nature we would have had to do it. Yeah, because, but for us, upright, we probably would have thrived in the tropical areas where there was trees and whatnot, and warm, because we don't have any, it probably might have been the clothes and stuff that made our fur go away, but who knows, and who cares too much. I mean, it's all really very interesting, and I'm not saying I know everything about everything at all. I don't want to ever come across like that, but I do want to present some ideas and keep the discussion open, because I still have a lot that I'd like to learn on both sides. But I know that there's a lot of people that want to align themselves with a more plant-based way of eating, and yet they are still young and value their muscles. And so this Puridyne stuff can be very helpful to keep the muscles on your body, because it's all 22 amino acids. It digests easily. And the other good thing about it, unlike a lot of food, this is tested on the way in and tested on the way out. And so there's no chemicals in it, okay? And that is huge in today's day and age. If you can get something that has been tested for chemicals from someone you trust, that's the kind of the direction you want to go. And a couple scoops of this will provide you with all the 22 amino acids that you need to rebuild muscle after intense workouts, whether that is, running or cycling or lifting weights is going to even require a little more protein. A couple scoops of this though, and you're good to go. And the microbes are going to break that apart, and they're going to give you all of those 22 essential amino acids in a much more concentrated form. Can you dig it, baby? Anything else I need to say about that? Not really. It's just really awesome. It's got 21 grams of protein per 2 scoops, and it's got 6 grams of carbs, and then 1 gram of fat. So pretty good and pretty clean product there for all you guys who want to, stay on track with your muscles and all that. And a little bit is good here and there for hair and bones and skin and teeth, but I really do feel like the protein is a little bit overplayed for the last, couple of centuries, really. And I think people are getting too much, because I'll have clients, like I said in the beginning, I don't know if I finished because I go off on tangents, surprise, surprise. That I'll have obese clients or, people with cancer call me and they'll be like, where do I get my protein? It's like, that's the last thing on this earth you need to worry about if you are obese or if you have cancer. You need to get your gut right and electrified. Everyone, that's what I'm saying. Like, aside from all the stuff we talked about for the last 30 minutes, it's just like everyone's got to get electrified, you know, because that's going to be the communication network. So let's segue, and that was 30 minutes for the protein. And now we're going to do a little bit here with the hydration protocol. So this is my hydration protocol. And this is something I really want to share with you because this is a miracle. This is the Mega Home Water Distiller, link down below. And it's on my website, regenerateyourlife.org. And this thing, it takes about 6 hours to make a gallon. Okay? And then you take that and you put it in your glass jars. You get 4 of these for every thing. So this is my first. One of these, first thing in the morning. Distilled water. Distilled water latches on to the junk all over in your tissues and pulls it out. But it's not going to be able to get into the tissues unless you have conductivity in the cell wall and all the permeable and impermeable membranes in your body. Now, what's going to require that? So most people, they don't think of the live foods. They don't think of fresh fruit or fresh vegetable because everything is so cooked. So we have this cooked consciousness where people are like, well, you need to go to the supplement store and get such and such magnesium this and biocarbonate that. And although there is a place for some of those supplements in certain cases, in general, you can do it a lot more easily and a lot more tastefully by adopting more electrical foods. Now, me, I'm a juicing fanatic. Like I said, I mean, after the 40-day water fast, to gain 60 pounds, I had to force myself to eat. So I forced myself to eat, which was kind of a beautiful thing because now I'm like, okay, I'm over it. It was kind of a cool thing because I wanted to gain that weight. I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go up. My goal was 180, and then I just kept going and going and going, and I was like, wow, because my goal was 180, and I just kept going and going and going, and I just kept going, and I was like, okay, and I kind of got addicted to it, but then I wasn't feeling that great. I wasn't as flexible. I wasn't as sharp, and it's not my dharma. It's not my journey. I'm like a celibate yogi monk, okay? That's where, you know, just turn on the light bulb and that's all. If the body's a toothpick, good enough. So that was cool, and I wanted to vlog about it, but it was just like I didn't, I did a couple videos, and it was like all the reminders of all the being teased and beaten up when I was just bird cage, bird chest, bag of bones, toothpick man. Just because I'm an ectomorph, and I always have been and I always will be, you know, and we tend to be violent towards each other and hate each other for everything. If you're not good enough, you're too fat, you're too skinny, you're too ugly, you're not good enough, blah, blah, blah. And we beat each other up, especially as children, and our parents a lot of times don't help, and I think that's pretty sad, and a lot of us have to really work hard to rebuild ourselves after that, but it can be done. And then so I made some videos, and it was just like blah, 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 and I wasn't even trying to have the negativity, and so I just didn't want that directed at me. You know, it's like, yeah, so that wasn't my thing to have muscles, you know, because no matter how tight your butt gets, it's not tight enough. No matter how big your muscles get, it's not good enough. It's like, this is social media and you'll never be good enough. You know what I mean? Until you just decide one day that this is me, this is who I love, and you just really work on accepting yourself for who you are, and then your perception of yourself changes. And I did that myself, and when I look in the mirror, I say, mister, you may not be some big Instagram anything model, but you know what? You are a beautiful human being, and that's all there is to it. You know what I'm saying? And it changed my perception of myself. I like to be thin because I'm light and I don't have a lot of diseases and heaviness and lethargy and blockages in my system. So I just keep it all clean and clear. And anyone, endomorph, mesomorph, ectomorph, can have a clean and pure body. You're just going to have different bones. But you can have clean, pure, healthy tissues if you utilize the living minerals in the juices, in the fruits, in the vegetables. This is for vegans, carnivores, omnivores, everyone. And that's why I brought out the cucumber juice, which is for everyone. No matter what your diet, like I hate sugar, it's gonna kill me and make me age rapidly, or whatever the belief is, then it's like, okay, then you are a candidate for cucumber juice, okay? I do very well. I do very well with sugar. I do very well with fat. I do very well with protein. You know, I just do very well, but I'm very conscious of how I take care of this thing, and I do things very well thought out, and I've got a great system. And so cucumber juice is the mineral electricity that you need to allow for cell permeability. A lot of people, like I said online, they'll use all these supplements and stuff, and that's fine, and it may work, but nothing works as good as God and Mother Nature. God and Mother Nature are brilliant geniuses, and when we align ourselves with them, the magnificent miracles that can take place within our being when we align ourselves with the law. God is pure divine intelligence. Mother Nature is the manifestation of that incredible intelligence. So these cucumbers, yeah, some dude, you know, grows them on his farm. It's cool. Some dude grows the watermelon. Some dude, this is watermelon. So this is cucumber. This is watermelon. This is cucumber, coconut, pineapple, kale, cilantro, and mint. This is for a friend of mine. I'm going to bring that to her right now. We're going to have a little juice party. And then the rest of these are for me. My program has been basically like this lately. I just hydrate the heck out of myself all day long. And then I have one microbe meal at night, you know. And it's a magnificent program. And then if I'm out and about and a piece of fruit jumps out at me because it's everywhere, you know, avocados on the ground, you'll find a ripe one every once in a while. Guavas are everywhere. Lilacois, I'll be like driving down the road to the beach and it's like, all these lilacois and just like, get out the pole. What's up? If I'm with somebody, we'll have a lilacoy party. If not, I'll have a little solo party, get all dirty from the jungle, and then go down to the beach and wash all that off. And so it's like I drink about a gallon of liquids during the day of sweet and non-sweet, starting with this. Then I'll work my way next into coconut water, watermelon juice, cucumber juice, celery juice. I'll make some like this. If it's like, for me, I do like mono juices just because it's like simple and easy. And I'm just a mono consciousness dude. But I'll make these little mixtures for party times and to get my friends started, to help them to get their stuff going right, to deodorize and detoxify. And so just to take everyone up to another level of health. So it's like, and I'm not saying that you need to do this, but I'm just saying this. And then I've got more to share because there's so much to share. That 100% of the people tested at this facility that tests for hydration, human hydration, 100% of all human beings are dehydrated at the cellular level. I love living foods with the living water and the living bioactive minerals, hydrogen and oxygen. I love living water in coconuts, cucumbers, celery, watermelons, pineapples, apples, grapes, peaches, plums. Fruit is amazing. But after a lifetime of stagnation and non-electrical, what I call dead foods, you stick the diodes in there, there's no current, there's no light bulb. When I stick it into a watermelon, the light lights up. That light is me. I'm trying to be a light. I love the light, the ministry of light, the light inside of you, expanding, the light of eternity, the light of consciousness, the light of love, the light of God, the light of peace, the light of life inside the bioelectrical illuminating foods, which then automatically force the microorganisms that are trying to give you hell every which way but loose and cause you every craving under the sun, whether that's animal-based cravings or sugar-based cravings on both sides. So I wouldn't want to be either. I want to be right in the middle of conscious eating and very aware of what's happening with this temple. Because this is a temple. This is the temple of God. This is your temple. And I just want you to be blessed. Because I have a lot of people on the phone that are dying that didn't have to die if they would have done this 20 years ago with the bacterial overgrowths that are just rotting them from the inside out. Purify your temple. I mean, people are just rotting from the inside out on all sides of the spectrum. And so get clean, get clear, you know, whatever you got to do, whatever that means to you. You can say, I can say a million things, but it's like, you know, somewhere deep down inside, and you've got probably a lot of work to do. We all do, to grow that light within us, to purify our temple. And this right here, Arnold Ehret, life is a tragedy of nutrition. Human beings have been killing themselves, rationalizing it, justifying it, making Google posts and blog posts and videos about death, 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 and the justification of gourmet, you know, just gluttony. And no one wants to hear Mr. Party Pooper talk about fruit. There's no flavor in fruit. There's no flavor. I want to have a Thanksgiving. What are we going to do? We got culture. We got civilization. We got to eat ourselves to death. We all have the king's disease now. Man, I'm telling you, if you eat like a pauper, you will live like a king. You will be the owner of your life. You'll be like, all you're looking forward to is breathing fresh air. How much does that cost? How much money do you need in the bank for that? All you're trying to do is get fresh air and be calm. Because I'm telling you, stress leads to inflammation and it's hurting my people. And so I'm going to make a video soon, and I hope that you give me a thumbs up for this and some encouragement. We will go out, and I will put the camera in nature, and I will just sit there with you, and we will all take 30 minutes or whatever, an hour, to just relax. The stress is incredible. We've got to utilize, I want to say, okay, I'll probably go for an hour, it looks like, but God, I mean, there is so much to share to help you, because I am blessed, okay? I am calm. I meditate like a crazy man. This morning, it's just like, wow, the meditation, the stillness, it does not come overnight, but God, when you start reaching these certain states of stillness, it is a joy beyond anything. You're just, for just 1 hour or less or whatever, but 20 minutes, 30 minutes, of just being there with yourself. And, you know, at first it's like, oh God, you got husbands and kids and gotta go to work and just build this castle in the sky, and you're all over. But pretty soon, as you learn more and you educate yourself on real meditation, you get more and more focused on meditation. It's just, for me, this is my spot. A lot of people do really well with just, focusing on just the heart. For me, for a long time, I've been really working on getting my brain turned on, getting my light bulb turned on. It's the vaccines, just, ain't been right since. And so I'm just really working on getting the light bulb turned on in my head. So that meditation, that stillness, it allows for the stillness of the body. And after time, it's not just an overnight thing, but as you continue to cultivate that practice in one way or another, that stillness of the body, the emotions get calm. You keep bringing the mind back to one point. You don't let anything else enter. You just keep bringing it back. You keep bringing it back to your ideal. Whatever your ideal is. The goal of life is God consciousness. The goal of life is God consciousness. The goal of life is God consciousness. Whatever your ideal is, and you keep coming back to that, and it wants to fantasize about ex-lovers, and it wants to think about what you're going to do with that check you get next week, but you just want to learn how to be present and still, and then it just brings you more into present. You start building new grooves in the brain where you're actually present with life, and you become more interested in just observing instead of reacting or criticizing or accusing, or you're just more observing. And I think it's amazing, amazing thing. So bless you, bless you, bless you. Cucumber juice for everyone. Oh my God, the inflammation from the stress, the inflammation from the weird foods. I mean, I can't even get into it. It's way too long. It's like almost everything. It's just artificial food. So what do, Dan? We get real smart. We get real smart and we start changing our priorities. Because if you're going through the drive-thru, you're done for. If you're going to the restaurant, they are there for profit. They are not thinking about your gut microbiome. They are thinking about your taste buds, getting you to come back tomorrow. So there's chemicals, additives, preservatives, glyphosate, pesticides, colorants, and all that's going in, and it's going into your blood, and it's blah. And believe me, the clear and more simple, oh Lord have mercy, let me transmit that to you. Simple, plain, basic foods, bypassing any need to extract a stimulation from foodstuffs. And going down here and feeding this thing so that this temple, just feeding the microbes and living in harmony with the symbiotic relationship that you have with them, you are feeding them. Your body, your tissues are made of electricity. They do not even need to eat. Your body is made of electricity. Your cells are condensed electricity. You picked up you are the cargo ship for trillions of little dudes that all work together that are doing a lot of really good stuff. But if it gets out of balance, then it doesn't do good stuff. If one of them starts dominating, like if it just becomes like a parasite overgrowth, I only want one kind of food, damn it, you know. Or you're over here and it's like, well, all I want to do is eat sugar. Sugar. You know, you're way over here. Somewhere in the middle is a nice balance within whatever genre you want to choose. But you're working that diversity, and believe me, going from 150 grams of fiber, you know, historically a day per human being to 15 or 20 grams of fiber. And so people are like, we can't even digest fiber. No, we can't. But we feed that fiber, and it's a broom too, to keep all the diseases and junk and sludge and slime out of your colon. But then it gets to the large intestine, and then the microorganisms just turn all that into wonderful stuff like serotonin, dopamine, melatonin, and then you've got all that, and you're like, hey, I'm Pono. Why? Because my dudes are Pono, and we are chilling. They're happy, I'm happy, because I quit feeding the ones that weren't giving me life, and I feed the ones that give me life, the electrical microbes. So that's why the electricity diet, the living foods that has bioelectricity or concentrated sunlight, which by the way is cooked out by the sun. You know, you just want to go and get foods that are filled with sunlight, oranges and grapes and celery and wild plants and nettles and, you know, mushrooms, whatever's out there that's real and wild and real. And I know that sounds like, what in the hell is this guy talking about? There's no real anything anywhere for hundreds of miles around me. So you have to get very creative. But if we start thinking consciously about how we're going to support farmers and get these fruit trees and these vegetable farms going with mineral-rich soil, we might be able to save humanity. we may be able to, at least as individuals, we may not be able to, I mean, America was bred for sickness. We could go into the conspiracy of vaccines and glyphosate and all this other crap and 5G. We can do all that, and, you know, why it ever changed that the women were healers and now it's a bunch of dudes with stethoscopes thinking your body is some kind of engineering mechanism, when it's actually a more fluid, dynamic ecology that needs to be nourished intuitively through an understanding of the laws of life. And not like some mechanical, well, you have this, it'll cut you up. You have this, take this pill. Call me next week. You know, they don't have any tools in the toolbox to heal. It's like I don't blame the doctors. I mean, they are generally well-intentioned people. It's just that their training, it's kind of like giving a carpenter the tools of a mechanic and giving a mechanic the tools of a carpenter. So the doctor goes in to try to help you out, he ain't got the right tools, because you can't really eat pills and cure your problems. You can't eat pills and heal your separation from nature and the fact that you don't eat any natural foods. You can't take billions of years of biological evolution. You are the crown of that evolution at this time on this planet. Look at us. We are incredible. It's absolutely amazing what's happened. And we are intelligent enough to observe nature and get an understanding of the laws, and then we can follow them and we can be the master gardener of our stomachs, which then really is mastery of the mind, because after a while, when you really pay attention to this, you see what you eat affects your mind. And what you eat affects the epigenetic expression of different codes within your DNA, and there really isn't much out there about that right now, but it is coming down the pipeline. You know, and we're going to see how these metabolites are affecting the epigenetic expression of the DNA and the RNA, and how that, what kind of qualities are produced within the organism in relation to what is being consumed. And that's going to be some awesome stuff, because then we can probably do a lot to help ourselves feel better. But until then, my friends, Dan McDonald recommends distilled water to flush out the crap. And that when you see what's in the bottom of this thing, when you're done, you can take tap water. That's the beauty of it. You take tap water, you put it in this thing, you push the button, it boils it down here, water cools, and drips down in here as a charcoal filter. So it's really awesome. And then out there is just this pure water, which latches onto toxins and pulls them out. But don't neglect the living electrical side. And if you want, you can use all those different cell salts, I mean magnesiums and stuff like that. Ionic magnesium, you know, whatever, fulvic acid, you know. It's got magnesium, chloride, sodium, potassium, mostly magnesium and chloride. Tiny little bit of sodium, tiny little bit of potassium, some sulfate, fulvic acid, you know, just little things I'll use on the side, keep things shored up. But really, at the end of the day, you know, you get some good organic plant foods, whole plants, and you juice them. And then you've got these bioelectrical salts that allow for cellular osmosis and transmission of signals, energy, water, nutrients, and also not only to get the electricity into the cells, but to get the cell wall opened up electrically so there's conductivity, so that this water can go into the cells, pull the junk out, and move it out. And then, again, your body's always trying to stay youthful, healthy, you know what I'm saying? But we're dried up. We're dried up. Our food is dried up. It's processed. It's crackers. And go for the water-rich foods, no matter what your dietary preference. And do the best you can to stay hydrated, man. So I'll probably drink like this, and then 3 or 4 of these things. And then, you know, like I said, if I'm out and about or I'm at the market and it's like, oh, a sapote, boom, you know, I'll have a fruit snack. So I'm a liquid guy. maybe a fruit snack if it comes into the field as a celebration of life, ripe sapote or some dope dragon fruit or whatever. And then the microbial salad. That's my trip, but it's just maybe just to give you some ideas. You know, I've been making this awesome kale salad. I'll take like 2 bunches of kale, rip it off the stems, crush it up, grate some carrots, some ginger, a little bit of olive oil, and then some of those green, just the green parts of the onion. And then it's just this wonderful, and then I just crush that up with my hands with olive oil and lemon juice, and I just chew it up real slowly. It's great for my teeth. And the kale is just this awesome fiber. A lot of people can't handle it, but I've worked at training my gut. My gut loves it. I mean, when I can eat 2 heads of kale, I just know that my digestion is awesome, and my microbes that I've developed consciously are working the way I want. So I love fruits, and I love leafy green plants, and I love nuts, and I love people, and I'm just wanting to be a blessing to you here. So this is the Mega Home Water Distiller. The other thing I wanted to point out, I got a couple more minutes left, like it's an hour, baby, is that guess how long it's been since I have had to throw a plastic water bottle in the trash. Thank God it's been so long that I couldn't even remember this morning when I was thinking about making this video. Now, if you're traveling or whatever, I get it, but when you're at home and you've got your little car and you've got your little cooler and you've got your little trip going and you're at home in your rhythm, jar of water from the distiller, no plastic, save the planet, praise the Lord. Clean water, no money. 200 bucks, 3 years ago, saved hell of money since then. Did a 40-day water fast, was drinking this stuff out of glass bottles, didn't like it, body was rejecting it, didn't understand it, was like, I gotta drink. And then right towards the end of the fast, towards the end of that fast, divine revelation after divine revelation. Once you get clear and this thing down here shuts up and you're just pure consciousness with God and your body is clear and there's no food or nothing, no activity, you become androgynous and an absolute antenna to divine knowledge. So when you're fasting, bring that divine knowledge in and remember it. You're going to apply it, but once you start eating again, your consciousness is going to start changing a little bit and stuff. And the microbes are going to start affecting your consciousness. You're going to make different choices, and it's no longer the fasting state. But don't forget what you learned while you were fasting. So then you can just use this and just reuse these glass jars over and over again. You got your water bottle right here. You're never using plastic. And you're avoiding the BPA and all the other estrogen-forming compounds that are in plastic that are shrinking up our testicles and making us have birth defects and ruining women's ovaries. BPA is in the cans, BPA is in the food with the plastic. Another thing reason to go fruits and veg, man, with no plastic crap soaked in there. So do the best you can. Drink the distilled water. Use the living water here. The cucumber juice is amazing. I'm going to say one last thing because I'm like an hour. This cucumber juice, if you're in pain, if you have inflammation from stress, injuries, or leaky gut because you've been exposed to glyphosate and the tight junctions are broken open and every time you eat you feel like shit because the glyphosate is on everything. The cucumber juice, it's so soothing, so soothing. The watermelon juice too, but I know a lot of people are tripping about the sugar, but the cucumber juice is one of the greatest blessings. And I don't think you can drink too much. I will drink a gallon of cucumber juice in a day sometimes. And it is so nourishing and hydrating. You're just loose. It's good for bodybuilders after workouts to get rid of some of the inflammation. It's good for inflammation in your joints, in your body, stiffness, pain, tension, stress, inflammation from living in an insane world. This cucumber juice is absolutely miraculous. And I want to recommend, it's one of my favorite medicines for what we're dealing with on the planet right now. And it's incredibly good for your skin. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really, really enjoyed it. And I hope that you learned something, and I hope that you are on fire to take control of your health and just to feel better, as good as you can, and be as happy as you can, and have as much joy and pleasantness and peace and ease as you can. There will be links down below for everything. Thank you, and aloha.